Get up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really sucking the ball. Knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the M-E-T-S Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where they go to meet the Mets. Oh, they're hollering, they're cheering, and they're jumping in their seats, where they go to meet the Mets. All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball of the Mets of New York town. Give him a yell, give him a hand, and let
head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. Little Lion, Jersey, Brooklyn Queens are counting it down. Let's go, Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking the ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. Oh, yeah, New Jersey, Brooklyn Queens are counting it down. Let's go, Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Beat the Mets! Let's go, Mets!
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hut. And of course, we're back here live talking about the New York Mets and Major League Baseball for that matter. Let me say hello to the chat real quick. Hello, Sean Zarnecki, Mike Eisenberg, and Southern Cal Mets fan. Yes, please subscribe. If you're coming for the first time watching the live stream, all you got to do is subscribe and just wait a couple minutes and then you can participate in the chat. So we had this Sunday. I watched a lot of football today. I know that's why you're here. Watched a lot of football. I watched the Jets and the Giants. Why are the New York teams played at the same time? They've done a lot of games like that. I watched both games. Interesting. Giants play to a tie. I don't understand this thing with the ties. Drives me crazy. And the Jets played okay, and then they just didn't have enough against the Vikings. But hello, Daniel Young. Hello, Randy Fernandez. A little bit of a story came out a little while ago. Rumor. It seems that Sean Murphy is probably going to get traded fairly soon by the A's, and that the Braves are the front runners. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what's going on with Travis d'Arnaud. If they move Murphy, I wonder where d'Arnaud's going to go. On the move again for Travis. On the move again for Travis. On to the seventh team in his career as a professional. Obviously started with the Phillies, then got traded for Roy Halladay to Toronto. Then he got traded to the Mets for R.A. Dickey. Then the Mets released him. And then he went to the Dodgers. They released him. Then he got picked up by the Rays, and they released him. And then the Braves picked him up. So he might be on the move again. I think he's got one more year in his contract, so he's probably going to be on the move. They'll probably move him. I know there's a lot of teams looking for catch and help, one of which is the St. Louis Cardinals, obviously, with Yadi Molina retiring. They're looking for catch and help. It's going to be a lot of interesting catchers that are going to be on the move. A couple of the keep an eye on the Blue Jays catchers, by the way, because probably one of those guys is probably going to get moved. Murphy's going to get moved. We know that. Surprise! That was a very surprising name that popped up tonight. Was the Braves with because the Braves have been very quiet this offseason. So, hello, Boyd Oldham. Hello from a Dodgers fan. Enjoy your podcast. Well, thank you. And I enjoy that you watch. Love that you watch it. I will say this. Got a lot of great people that watch the channel and leave comments and stuff. I've been dealing with a lot of cranky people the last couple of days. I'll say that. But this offseason can't end fast enough. It just started. We need it to be over very quickly. But, so today is the first day of the winter meetings. There's been no news so far tonight. I think tonight we'll find out who's going to get in the Hall of Fame. At least from the contemporary players. Well, I think it's today. I'm not 100% sure. Probably tomorrow at the latest. But I'll let you know. Keep an eye on that, and hopefully that'll happen. If it happens during the live stream, we'll talk about it. But it seems if anyone's going to go into the Hall of Fame to those older players, it'll probably be Fred McGriff. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hold on, I need a drink. Look. All right, Daniel Young says this. You think the Blue Jays are more likely to pursue Nimmo via free agency or trade for Reynolds? Well, here's the thing. You don't have to give up any players for Brandon Nimmo. Trash Cam 101 says, a Padres fan just wants San Diego to re-sign Juan Soto. Well, it's going to be a couple years. He's going to get the free agency. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. I would be very surprised. Be very surprised if he stayed there in San Diego. Because he'll go where the biggest contract is. Mike Eisenberg says it's today, 5 p.m. MLB Network. Was it 7 p.m.? It's 6:30 here. Guess you're in the Central Time Zone. But we'll say if Fred McGriff gets in. That's really the name that we've been hearing. Is Fred McGriff, the crime dog. Guy never had any troubles. He played during the steroid era, and he always led the league in home run. Hit a lot of home runs, and came up short. Didn't have 500 home runs. Southern Cal Mets fan says, I want the Padres to trade Machado back to Buck and the Mets. Oh, okay. Well, he never played for the Mets there. Southern Cal Mets fan. I mean, played for Buck. Oh, okay. Oh, so Mike Eisenberg says, 8 o'clock. We'll find out about who's going to get in. Daniel Young, what's the latest in Nimmo? If DeGrom leaves, do you think that hurts his chances of staying in New York? No, I think it probably improves it because now the Mets have more money to spend. Apparently, it seems like the Met organization, the Met front office felt that DeGrom was going to leave in May, that he was going to leave in May. I think that was really the surprise here, is that they knew as far back as May that he was going to leave the Mets. That's funny. Only one other person thought that he was going to leave the Mets back in May. I don't know who that was. I don't know who that person was that thought that he was going to leave. I thought he was going to leave back at last year. Not to say, I was right, but no, I was right. Let me get to the chat. From Trash Can 101, where do you think Trey Turner is going? Well, the big name, the big play team on him are the Phillies. We've heard the Phillies. I can see the Dodgers taking him back. I know about a month ago there was a lot of talk with the Mets, but I don't. Here's the thing. Now that DeGrom is gone, the money that they were going to give him, they can use some of that money, at least with the first 2 or 3 years of that, to go to pitching, go to like Justin Verlander, or go to Carlos Rodon. And if it doesn't go to those guys, they can always sort of hopefully they get one of them. You got to get at least one of them to sort of not have like a mess here. just in terms of the upper part of the pitching staff. I would mention this, and again, I said this, and I think I'm the only one, of course, talking about this, is Max Scherzer has an opt-out after next year. So Max Scherzer might not be with the Mets after next year. Or he might not be on the Mets in 2024 because of his opt-out. So just keep that in mind and remember where you got it from. From Southern Cal Mets fan, we do a video on Johnny Cueto to the Mets. He could ride into Queens on it. Well, here's the thing about Johnny. He's going to be one of the last guys that gets signed. Okay? And he's not, his age is such, and he's gone through so much stuff physically, and he's getting up there in age. There's no priority for Johnny Cueto. William, there's no rush on that. He was old when he pitched against the Mets in the World Series in 2015. He was getting up there in age. So this is like 8 years later. Yes, the Mets need a good left-handed starter, and they've been needing one for a long time. Andrew says, can the Mets start to emulate the Rays and the Marlins and developing pitches? Can we have nice things? Well, haven't they had that? DeGrom, Syndergaard, Harvey, Wheeler, Matz, they had that. Okay? The Mets had those things. So this is the cycle that teams go through. That is really what we have. And don't let first of all, the Marlins are terrible. They can't get out of their own way. They lost 90-something games again. And the Rays, I don't know what the hell the Rays do down there. Something is fishy. No pun intended. But there's something really fishy that goes on down there. You can see all these players, they do so well with the Rays, and then they leave the Rays, and really the only player that's done anything of substance since he's left is Willie Adames. Everybody else that leaves the Rays, they never are any good. But, the Mets have to do what they did in the past. Do you want to take a hit and be bad and get high draft picks? Because that's how they developed their farm system, They developed the pitching staff. Has to, what? Yeah. I don't really care for that. I'll put you in a timeout. I don't really care for that. But you have to develop these starters, and it takes a little time, And the Mets don't have impact starters on the upper levels. They have some talent. They have Calvin Ziegler. But who knows? Who knows with some of these guys? They need to develop them, But the Mets had those things. The Mets had the big pitching. That's why they went to the World Series in 2015. That's why they developed that. That's why they were able to win in 2015. The problem is that the Mets, the group had some issues, obviously. Obviously, Matt Harvey had issues. And he still, I guess, has those problems. And Syndergaard's stubborn, which was a big reason why he got hurt in 2017. Because he didn't get an MRI, and he should have. When he knew he had an issue with his side, he should have gotten an MRI. They might not have pitched him. Him getting hurt destroyed that entire season. And obviously with Jacob DeGrom, he pitched really great for the Mets. But the Mets weren't good those years. So he did not create a situation which made the Mets a really great team. And they should have been a great team just by the fact that he was pitching every 5 days. Great players and great pitchers make your team better around you. It doesn't seem like he really was able to do that. Matt's had his issues. He's sort of up and down. He's sort of up and down with Matt's. Wheeler was the one guy I felt when he wanted to be here. He had his injuries, obviously with the Tommy John, but he was out for 2 years. It took him a little while to get warmed up in terms of just getting him back on the mound. But once he got back on the mound, the guy's been a really good pitcher. I thought he should have won the Cy Young Award last year. He should have won the Cy Young in 21. in my view, Zach Wheeler. Tom Smith. No one knew DeGrom coming from the minors that he was going to become the GOAT. Exactly. That's another thing about pitching. Another thing about pitching is you don't know where these guys are going to come from. I will remember this about Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey coming through the Met Farm system was a guy that was looked upon as a guy who was a number 3 or 4 starter. He threw 92, 93. Then he gets here. He's throwing like 97, 98. He's throwing that crazy slider that he threw. So, you don't know how it is. It's very different than, say, an everyday player. An everyday player, they don't normally surprise you when they go into the farm system and they come up. Sometimes a pitcher can come out of nowhere and be a great pitcher. I'll give you, or even a good pitcher. I'll give you another example of a guy. Seth Lugo. He was a star in the minor leagues. And he was not considered a very big prospect. But when he got in 2016, he pitched really well. He's got an excellent breaking ball. And people were very surprised at how good he was and how good he's been. Now, we'll see if I know he wants to come back. I don't know if the Mets are going to re-sign him, but we'll see. Trash Can 101 says, do you think Ohtani will be traded this offseason? No, because they're bringing in talent. First of all, the team is being sold. You trade Ohtani, and the value of your franchise goes down the toilet. All right? So there's absolutely no reason for Ohtani to be moved under any circumstances. So I would expect that he'll be there all year. I'm sure I'm going to do a lot of videos about him getting moved, during the trading deadline, but I really don't see that happening. I would expect about Ohtani, the Mets will be all in on him next offseason. We're going to be talking about him a lot. I know I am. It's probably going to start in July, to be honest with you. And I think that's another reason why they didn't have a problem letting DeGrom go. DeGrom is 34 years old. He's going to be 35 years old. Ohtani's, 28? 29 years old? And he's a two-way player. He's a pitcher and he's a hitter. And now we have a situation where, now we wait it out. Somebody had written to me last night and wanted to trade Pete Alonso for Mike Trout and Ohtani. And I'm like, well, why? You're taking in so much money with Mike Trout, and you're going to be giving a lot of money for Ohtani. It's almost $1 billion between the two of them. So why would you ever make that kind of a trade? Makes no sense. And you're giving up Pete, you're on first baseman. It's just silly. But, yeah, I think that's another reason why they didn't have a problem letting DeGrom go, is because they feel that they can use that money elsewhere. And I think that's kind of important. Hold on, somebody just texted me. So, again, please like this video and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. So, we have DeGrom. DeGrom is now a Ranger. And I guess back in May, the Mets were feeling that he was going to be gone in May, and he was going to go to the Rangers. Okay. So, New Jersey Swamp Fox says, the Will Ponzi's were too cheap to re-sign Willie, even though he was willing to give them a discount to stay in New York. And he was clearly coming into his prime as a pitcher and not just a thrower with great stuff. Now, I would mention this about Brody Van Wagenen. He did not believe in Wheeler. So that was another influence that made it possible for him not to be here. Greg Zeman says, Mets need to add a right-handed home run hitter. Are the Mets interested in anyone? I haven't heard anybody. I've only heard pitchers and Brandon Nimmo and Andrew Benintendi on the side. I haven't heard any right-handed hitters. It'll be interesting to see how offense is next year. There's not going to be any kind of a shift next year There's not going to be, there's going to be more bases being stolen. It's going to be very interesting to see how Major League Baseball and the players and the teams adjust to these new rules. And I would mention this as well. It's shorter distance now between the bases. So from home to first, it's shorter. It's 4 inches. It's 2 inches closer to home plate, and 4 inches between the bases. So maybe you'll see more offense. I think what's going to happen is because of all these rules that have changed, you're going to see the games are going to be longer. You're going to see longer games. Major League Baseball, I would mention this real quickly. They did not solve the problem when it comes to what they've been dealing with these length of games and stuff. One of the major problems that baseball has is really bad umpiring, specifically on the base paths. They're always screwing up first base. The strike zone's one thing. That's all right. That's not a big deal to me. But the base paths and really the umpires not knowing the rules. So that's where the problem lies with Major League Baseball in terms of what the rules and the situation. Now I'm glad the shift is out of here. You'll see more. I mean, really, if you think about it, you might not need a right-handed bat on the Mets because of the fact that the shift is gone. Maybe there'll be more left-handed. Maybe the chances of them bringing back, say, a Michael Conforto type player goes up. Where Nimmo goes, it'll be like a domino effect. Him more than, say, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has 2 teams really on him. Maybe 3 teams on him. The Giants and the Yankees. I get the sense from the Yankee fans that they don't seem too optimistic that he's coming back. I know the Yankees have been pressed very hard on bringing him back. They put out how much money they were willing to spend, and which I was surprised again that they would put that out there. But we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Now, if he leaves the Yankees are screwed because at that point the Yankees don't have the talent without him. So he is that whole team. If he leaves, the Yankees are not going to win 99 games next year. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go. From Randy, I'd love to get Rodon and Stripling. Stripling's very underrated. Rodon doesn't come here. Give Verlander a 2-year deal. And sign Quintana. McGill, a 5th starter. I don't think McGill is there yet. McGill needs to pitch more. Don't rely on him yet. I was very concerned last year that the Mets were putting as much pressure on him as they did because I felt, well, he has not pitched much professionally. I don't want to see the Mets go crazy, push him too hard, because when he doesn't throw hard, there's always an injury. We've seen that the first 2 years when his velocity isn't up, he doesn't pitch as well, and he gives up home runs, and he's still learning how to pitch to a certain degree. Because there was no minor league baseball in 20, he has missed out on a lot of development. A lot of the players, especially the younger players, they've really missed out on that development. And I would not be so wanting to have McGill in the rotation on a regular basis. They need. I don't want to see him there on a regular basis. I don't think he's ready yet to be when you pitch as little as he has, if he had pitched, fully in the minor leagues, then he would have had time to develop. If he had injuries down there, his body would have gotten adjusted. It's a lot of issues there. But McGill's very talented. I do like his stuff. But the Mets got to be a little careful still with him. He's not quite ready there. He's certainly not a guy that could pitch in the bullpen. That's without a question in my mind. Because I felt that he's just not that. I mean, there are certain guys that you feel can pitch out of the bullpen. I don't feel McGill can pitch out of the bullpen. That's a little bit of a stretch, I think. I would mention this is kind of interesting and funny to me, is that right now on MLB Network, they're playing, I guess what the hell are they playing? They're playing a movie. The movie is Little Big League. Now, I mentioned that because the mother of a former Mets draft pick. Pete Crow Armstrong is in this movie. Ashley Crow. She's the mom in this movie. And Crow looks just like his mother, by the way. But that's kind of interesting. But Randy says, let McGill start the season, very long season for him to develop, and the season isn't as important as it used to be, but I agree with some points you said. Again, McGill is not quite there yet. He's not quite ready yet. But, the fifth starter spot's not a big deal over the long term of a season anyway. Because you're always going to have different starters. You're going to have to use a lot of starters, And, of course, please subscribe to the channel and like this video as we go along. Let me see something. See any updates here. All right, here's something from a reporter that covers the Braves. Alex Antopoulos said the Braves will go into spring training with all three catchers: d'Arnaud, Contreras, Manny Pena. He said the Braves will be open-minded, but I do not anticipate a trade. So just to shut that down. So that's good that Murphy is not going to be going to the Braves. Here's something interesting. These will be the first winter meetings since 2019. They were canceled because of the pandemic in 20 and the lockout in 21. How long has it been? Last time the Wilpons owned the Mets, Brody Van Wagenen was GM, and they signed Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha. That's a long time ago. Michael Wacha. Keep an eye on the Dodgers over the next couple of days. Dodgers have been very quiet, and from what I understand, they're way under the luxury tax. So maybe they sign one of these big shortstops because they do need a shortstop, and keep an eye on them with Aaron Judge, if that's a possibility. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I got to take care of something real quick. Be right back. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to use the bathroom for a second. Where was I? Oh, okay. So keep an eye on the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are going to be very, very busy over the next couple of days because they're way under the luxury tax. And they've been very quiet. I haven't heard anything about them. So they're probably up to something. And obviously, the Mets are going to be busy. They need to get some pitching in here, obviously. They don't have a number two starter here now. Mets are going to have to figure out who they're going to bring in. I mean, the pluses and minuses to really the three guys they were talking to. It doesn't seem like they were all too enamored with bringing back Jacob DeGrom. I don't think they were all too happy with his attitude, and I don't think he was happy with them. So I guess it's really just a good thing. Or I think it's all a good thing that he left. Mike Eisenberg. On the Dodgers waiting on the Trevor Bauer hearing as they might have to pay his $34 million salary this year. I don't think so. I don't think that has any. He's got a 2-year suspension. I don't think that's that important. They moved on from him pretty quickly. As soon as they decided not to play him, He was done. They weren't going to worry about that money. Randy Fernandez. Any chance they go after Trey Turner? This team needs one more big bat. I don't think Trey Turner's in the Mets' plans, if you're asking me. A lot of the stuff that they plan on doing is predicated on what happens with Brandon Nimmo. If Brandon Nimmo comes back, I don't expect them to bring in a big player and probably something lesser than say Brandon Drury. Now I would go after Brandon Drury for me, but I don't know how many years he's looking for. I don't know how much money he's looking for. So I really don't know what his market is. I'm sure there's a lot of people, a lot of teams talking to him because he doesn't have any draft pick attached to him. But I'd be interested to see where he goes. I haven't heard much about him, to be honest with you. But in the meanwhile, please like this video and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I will be back again tomorrow night at night. You can go back to work tomorrow. So I won't be here during the day, but I'll be here at night. We'll do a live stream again and just see what we can, see what's going on, specifically with the New York Mets. I don't expect a big trade. I still don't expect that. I expect them to sign a big player. Either it be Justin Verlander or Carlos Rodon. And I expect them to bring in pitching. I mean, I really expect them to be busy, but I don't expect a big trade. If they make a trade, to be honest, I'd be very, very surprised because they don't really have a lot to give up in their farm system. If they weren't going to make a move before the trade deadline for a big player, I don't think they're going to do that now. 4 months later, I really don't expect that. From Randy, rather have Turner than Nimmo. Turner can do everything except pop compared to Nimmo, especially pop. Well, Turner's an interesting player because with the rule changes, his stolen base total is going to go through the roof now. You're going to see guys stealing 30, 40, 50 bases again now, hopefully. But that also has to translate to runs scored, too. Because you can steal bases all you want. If it doesn't translate in a run that's being scored, then the stolen base doesn't mean anything. That's why I wasn't too uptight that Brandon Nimmo did not have a lot of stolen bases. The guy scored 100 runs. I don't know where Nimmo's going. I don't think he's signing over the next few days. I think he's probably signing in January. And I don't know if the Mets are going to want to sit around much longer on him. I know they did not want to wait around too long for DeGrom. Now, there is a player to keep an eye on with the Mets, and that's Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds, I guess, has been trying to negotiate with the Pirates to sign him to a long-term deal. That's fizzled, and he sort of has asked for a trade. I don't expect him to get traded, but that's a player to keep an eye on. He's got 3 years left before he's a free agent. He's been a really good player in a bad situation there, obviously in Pittsburgh. You always want good players on the Mets. You don't want bad players, obviously. But we'll see if he gets moved. That's an interesting name to keep an eye on. But we'll see. But, seeing DeGrom leave and all the kind of stuff on the fringes with him over the past, year, I was like, man, he's not going to stay. He's a guy that just doesn't seem like he's happy here. I think that's the biggest reason why he left. I don't think he was too happy about some of the behavior of some players in 20. I don't think he was happy living here in New York. Things are not great here, living here. I I think that he wasn't too happy that the Mets offered Trevor Bauer a contract, specifically knowing how much of a goofball that guy is and how much, I guess, he's got sort of a, he's just a weird guy. I don't think he was too happy the Mets offered him that contract, knowing that DeGrom is better than him. Jake knows he's better than him. Like, we all know that in every facet, not only on the mound, but, in the clubhouse, off the field. So I don't think he was too enamored with that. I think he was very uptight about that with the Mets. And I don't think that he was too enamored with the fact that Scherzer got the money that he got from the Mets. So I think that it's just sort of. I think he just wasn't happy here. I think we kind of got into that sense that Jake wasn't happy here, and if you're not happy here, then really there's really no point in staying. Hello, Peter. How you doing? What's up? Just chilling out, talking about the Mets and baseball, and just shooting the breeze, rambling like I normally do, But right now, MLB Network they've gone now to San Diego. So we'll see if there's any kind of news. 8 o'clock in about an hour, we'll find out who's going to the Hall of Fame from this contemporary ballot. Maybe I'll stay on until we find out. Got to tell you, I'm not really feeling all that great the last few days. Randy, Mets did the right thing not to counter offer of DeGrom whether he wanted to return or not. 5 years is way too risky. Rather give Verlander a 2-year deal or Rodon a 5 to 6 year deal. I'm hearing that Rodon, his market is absolutely insane, from what I've heard. That the years and the money's just out of this world. It's just crazy. And he's probably going to get something close to what Robbie Ray got. Okay? Probably going to get something similar to that. Or something less than that, considering how Ray won the Cy Young a few years ago. But we'll see where he goes. I wouldn't have an issue with him coming here because he's left-handed and he's been an ace the last couple of years, and he's pitched well. So there's no reason not to have him here and be in the Mets rotation. And he'll be here for a few years. He's not going to be out of here, a year or two from now. He'll be here for a few years, for 5 years, I would think. That seems to be about what he's looking for at the low end. I think probably something, like I said, Robbie Ray is probably what he's going to be looking for. But we'll see. And again, I'll mention this again about Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer has an opt-out. Grave Prower. The fact that DeGrom left the Mets for money is sickening, man. Needs to learn a few things from the icon Dennis Anderson. Well, I don't know who Dennis Anderson is. And you, sir, and everybody else that complains about athletes taking less money, you would not be doing that. You would be taking as much money as you can get. I don't know who Dennis Anderson is. It doesn't matter who he is. He took less money. He took less money from the Braves than what the Mets had offered him. Mets offered him $40 million. He took $37 million less. Peter says, Rodon, Bassett, and Senga. I haven't heard much about Senga lately. No, I don't think he's coming here to the Mets. I haven't heard much from him. I haven't heard much from about Senga with any team, really. I don't think he'll take that long for him to sign with a team. Because of the fact that, he's a free agent, there's no posting money, there's no, deadline for him. He seems like he wants to be here. I would not have a problem with the Mets bringing back Chris Bassett. He's looking, from what I understand, he's looking for more than 3 years. He's looking for 4 or 5 years. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that with him. He pitched well until he didn't pitch well in October and September against the Braves and against the Padres. and some great power. Dennis Anderson is the creator, gravedigger, the man who is one of the best sportsmanship and only did what he does because fans made him reach the top. Money isn't. I have no idea who this person is. I feel like Mike Francesa again. $400K for the year is fair because he was most of the year. Okay, he was out most of the year, but it's more for the fans, not the money. I have no idea who Dennis Anderson is. The creative gravedigger. What the hell is this? I have no idea what you're talking about. This is what team does he play for? What is he an athlete? What sport are we talking about? He's not a baseball player. I mean, it just seems like he's your friend. You just want to come in and brag about your friend. I have no idea who Dennis Anderson is. The creator of great. Sounds like a comic book. You a comic book fan? From Randy, as much as I like Bassett, he looked like the moment was too big for him. I don't think so. I think that I think he just didn't have his good stuff. You know. NJ Swamp Fox. What was Van Wagen's problem with Wheeler? Did he motorsports? Again, motorsports is not really driving your car. Then I'm a sportsman. I drive my car. I'm sorry, that doesn't count. Okay? The fact that I don't know who this person is, and the fact that you're writing all this stuff about him. The Gravedigger Monster Tribe, you never heard? No, because I'm from New York. I'm not some goober from the sticks. Sorry, not to offend anybody. But I'm out from the sticks. I'm not a goober. You must be a goober then. There's anything wrong with that. So a monster truck driver. Dennis Anderson, a monster truck driver. $400,000. No wonder why. He did it for the fans. That's a lot of money to drive a truck. Most guys that drive trucks don't make that much money. Give me a break. You're from the South Bronx? Okay, whatever. Whatever. All right. Okay, it's John Heyman. I'm not gonna watch this. You guys can watch it if you want. Going on MLB. This is John Heyman. Going on MLB Network now with Greg, Harold, and Mark. We'll talk about Judge and Verlander. Maybe I'll take a look. Let's see what this is.
Not only get maybe a co-pilot like DeGrom in Verlander or Rodon for Scherzer, but make sure that they get enough starting pitching moving forward so that this doesn't become an annual event where they're essentially putting together a rotation every year. So it's, yes, they have to fix the top of the market. I think they very much love to figure out how to get Justin Verlander to join this rotation. But it can't stop there. It's got to be at least one or two other guys, and it has to be guys who are signed beyond 2023. I think we have a list, MLB.com's top 10 Mets prospects. It isn't like this is going to come from the organization. These top 7 guys are all position players. Their top 3 pitching prospects are all due about 2025. So they're not going to get internal help. So the buy-in here isn't just about the 2023 season. It's about the 2023 season, 2024.
Please bear with me. I'm watching MLB Network.
So the Mets have a lot on their plate to address the void left with Jacob DeGrom going to Arlington. We're here in San Diego. I said before, historically, the Padres have made waves at the winter games. And there's...
Yeah, the Mets don't have any pitching help coming along the way. They said nothing until 2025. The top 7 Mets prospects are all position players, so don't expect any big moves in terms of anybody helping the Mets. They got to bring in players that are going to help them over the next couple of years. From New Jersey Swamp Fox, no one knows who this Anderson guy is. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Other than this one guy. Only this one guy knows who he is. I know I don't. But, now, of course, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Peter, has anyone signed today? No. Nobody is signed today. Well, thank you, Mike Eisenberg, for coming around. Thank you. The one Matt says that I think the Orioles will surprise some people. What do you mean surprise some people? You mean bring in a big player? I don't think so. I think they'll bring in some players that are winning players, that are veteran guys. I don't expect them to make a big move. Where's Aaron Judge going? John Heyman. Peter says, we already have an old guy at max. I would not want Verlander too. Two old guys at top of rotation is not good because they both run out of gas, and I agree. But you still have to get there. Okay. But the Mets are going to have to figure out, get some stability with this rotation. So they might lean towards Carlos Rodon, knowing that he's 30 years old. That's another thing you have to keep an eye on is stability, which they mentioned on MLB.
Seem to think that he will stay with the Yankees. Now, Rodon's right. Obviously, we've seen surprises, not just A-Rod 22 years ago going to Texas. Obviously, Freddie Freeman, we didn't expect him to leave Atlanta.
Please stand by.
To go to the Twins last year, so there are surprises, but people are figuring he's not going to want to leave that legacy behind. Obviously, he dealt well in New York, and they expect, this is their expectation, that he will end up back with the Yankees, and the Giants will finish second.
Yeah, at the moment we're hearing just the Yankees and the Giants. There's been some, I guess, mention of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it seems like their focus, John, is mostly in the world of starting pitching. So who do they have their sights set on to add to the rotation?
Yeah, well, Joel mentioned Verlander. He seems to be the guy right now for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I would think that Verlander is either going to go to the Mets. Is either going to go to the Mets or to the Dodgers. I really don't see him going back to Houston. I don't see him going to the Yankees. Or honestly, so McGill takes the DeGrom spot basically. No. McGill is on the outside looking in this rotation. Mets have they've done nothing other than re-sign Diaz and picked up the option on Carrasco. That's not basically. What's happened here is McGill is a guy, he's going to be somebody in the mix for the fifth starter spot. Okay? Mets need a number 2 starter and need a number 3 starter. And maybe even a number 4 starter. Okay? Okay. Carrasco, we'll see how he pitches, but he's not going to pitch a full season. He'll probably get injured at some point. And hold on a second. Again, I mentioned this about Jacob DeGrom. He pitched 38 games in the last 3 seasons. You could not give him the amount of years that he was looking for, knowing that he had missed that much time over the last 3 years. It's impossible to give someone that money and those years and that kind of commitment, and then at the same time he wasn't happy here. That's the reason why he did not pitch as much as we probably would have liked.
I'm sure Mets fans are disappointed. I look at it a little bit from a little greater distance, and I'm thinking they still don't get one of these 2 guys. And let's not forget that Brown made $400,000 per inning the last 2 years. Now, obviously said that he was underpaid, and
I just mentioned the number with the DeGrom. They said that he made $400,000 per start over the last few years off of his contract, and he was unhappy. And I would also mention this too. The Mets won 101 games last year, and they were all in on winning the World Series. They were all in getting, being competitive and being great and wanting to win the whole thing, and he chose to leave. He chose to leave and go to a team that has been bad for years. How many years have they been bad? 5 years? This is a team that won 68 games. This is a team that the year before won something in the 50s. So DeGrom, look at all these injuries. scapula, forearm, side, back, elbow, ulnar nerve surgery, rotator cuff surgery back in 2014. Crazy amount of injuries that he has had with the New York Mets. It's just him in the majors. You cannot give him this money. And the fact that he goes to a team that's been bad for years. A lot of times people come in here and they complain about the Mets. They're bad as that. Not to this level. I mean, the Rangers went to the World Series in 2010 and 2011. They should have won in 2011 when they played the Cardinals. They should have won that series, but they screwed up. Obviously, Nelson Cruz gets a pass because for whatever reason, he gets a pass. Gets a pass for not making that play in the outfield. And the Cardinals came back and won that series. But that team has not been good for a long time. Okay? And they won 68 games, spending all the money they spent last year. And they were still bad. The years that Jake was here, the Mets have been bad. At least bad in the sense they haven't been postseason. They haven't been a winning team. They've been under 500. 2018, under 500. 2019, they were 10 games over 500 because they actually had a team that could hit that year. And they didn't have any major injuries. The only reason they didn't make postseason that year is because Diaz had such a brutal season. Okay. 2020, I would mention this again, and I mentioned it last night. He did not pitch well in September of 2020. He had a bad September under his standard. Because going into the season, after being off all those months, he was the favorite to win the Cy Young, and he was the favorite going into September because he pitched really well in August. And he basically did not pitch well in September. If he had pitched to the level that he pitched, he would have won his third Cy Young. So all this is going on, and he's pitching like this. He was not happy. Think about that for a second. So 2018, 2019, he wasn't necessarily a happy camper pitching for the Mets. Okay? And in 2020, obviously there was issues here. He wasn't happy about the situation here. And then 21, he pitches great for the first half. Now, I've been talking about this. I talked about this 2 off seasons ago about the Mets' schedule at the time. I felt that he should not he should not have pitched the game in Colorado 2 years ago or last year in April, because I felt that if he pitched there, he was going to have a problem with his arm. And sure enough, as the season went on, he had a problem. Thank you, Gray Prower, for coming by. But I didn't want him pitching that day when it was like 30 degrees. It snowed the day before. They should not have started him. That's what led him to having this problem with his arm. Okay, when you have great pitchers or any pitchers, don't pitch them in the cold weather. Bring some schmo up from the minor leagues and have them pitch. This is the third time I've seen a pitcher with the Mets that was on a high level, and the guy basically burned his arm out, ran his arms into the ground because of the weather. I saw this in 1991 with Doc Gooden, where Buddy Harrelson pitched him on an April day where it was like 35 degrees out in Chase Stadium. He threw 150-something pitches. And he said later on in that season, his arm was so bad that he had to get rotator cuff surgery. He was never the same after that. And Doc was 26 years old at the time, 27 years old. He had to get rotator cuff surgery. He was never the same. He was 13-7 that year. He was having a really good season. He was still good. And then after that, he was nothing after that. And the Mets, the hell up, birds. and they weren't good after that. In 2013, the Mets played a game in Minnesota. It snowed there. And the next day they pitched Matt Harvey. Or that day they pitched Matt Harvey. Later on in that season, Matt Harvey had to get Tommy John surgery. Okay. And I was uptight that they were going to pitch him in that game, and they pitched him, and they shouldn't have. All right? And you saw what happened with him. Now with Jake, he missed half the season last year. He pitched half the season last year after, and I would mention this. After he pitched that game in Colorado, the Mets pushed his day back a day. So when he came back to pitch the following week, he clearly was a problem because they pitched him on the next day. And they played a doubleheader that day. He pitched 6 innings. He pitched great. But they never should have pitched. They should have not have pitched. John Rose says that the Birds clearly don't agree. Well, they're awfully quiet all of a sudden. They're pain in the ass sometimes. They never shut up. But, yeah, so thankfully, we don't have to really talk about his injuries now. Let him be a problem. Let him be a problem for the Rangers now. Okay. Let him be a problem for the Rangers. To be honest with you. And of course, please like this video. Yes. I'd like to get to 2,700 subscribers. That would be nice. Get close to it. Get close to 2,700 subs. But, yeah, so I'll be back in tomorrow night doing a live stream. And then the stream in a few minutes. But, we're going to have spend a lot of time talking about the Mets. I'll be back at work, so there'll be nothing during the day, I don't think, unless I can do a video on my lunch. It's actually been very quiet. We'll see once this live stream is over. We get some rumors. If there'll be some videos popping up tonight, and tomorrow, of course. But here we go again. So let me go through some of the again with the players again. My list of players, where they're going to go, who's talking to them. Aaron Judge. Yankees can't afford to lose Aaron Judge. Okay, he leaves, and they'll be fighting with the Orioles. They do. But the Yankees, the Giants, those were the two teams. I'll put the Dodgers here just for the hell of it. The Mets there for the hell of it, although there's been nothing about the Mets. The Cubs, the Padres, and the Red Sox. With Jacob DeGrom, he went to the Rangers. I guess the Mets really didn't make much of an offer. They kind of put that offer out there, and that was it. The Braves, I guess, talked to him at the last minute. But the Mets kind of figured that he was leaving, so I don't think they were too surprised that he left. Carlos Correa. I don't know where he's going. The Dodgers, the Braves, the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Red Sox, the Cubs. Trey Turner. I've heard the Phillies mostly. The Dodgers, the Cardinals, the Red Sox. The Cardinals could use a good shortstop. The Cubs, the Braves, I heard a little bit. The Mariners, we heard that about a month ago. The Mariners. Mariners made an interesting trade on Friday. They traded Jesse Winkler. The Mariners traded Jesse Winkler for Colton Wong. It's an interesting trade. That guy's always trading. He's always moving pieces around. It's crazy. The Guardians, believe it or not. I don't see that happening. They got a couple of little infielders. I don't think they're moving them. The Twins and the Padres. The Padres have sort of been hot on Trey Turner's case a little bit the last day or two. We'll see where he goes. He could be like a toss-up. Justin Verlander. I only see two teams on him, the Mets and the Dodgers. He'll go to either one, I think. I think primarily because of his wife. Xander Bogaerts. It doesn't seem like he's going back to the Red Sox. So I'm not going to put them down. The Braves, I don't see him going to the Braves. The Dodgers, the Twins, I could see him going to the Cardinals. He'd fit in real good with the Cardinals. He'd fit in real good with the Phillies. The Giants and the Mariners. The thing about the Phillies is they don't have Bryce Harper now for half a season. So the fact that he's getting this Tommy John surgery, he's going to be out for half a season. So they might be very aggressive to sort of get some more offense in with that team. And keep an eye on Nick Castellanos. It didn't seem like he was too happy there in Philadelphia. Brandon Nimmo, where's Brandon going? He's not signing until after the New Year. I'd be shocked if he signed before Christmas, let alone before the end of the winter meetings. But the Mets are in on him until they're not. The Rockies, that's close to his home. The Mariners, the Giants. If Aaron Judge goes back to the Yankees, I can see the Giants really pushing hard for Brandon Nimmo. The Rangers, and San Francisco is such a perfect place for Brandon, knowing his background. The Rangers, the Tigers. I haven't heard much of the Tigers. They might be getting rid of people. The Boston Red Sox. I don't see him going there. The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are pretty hot on Brandon. The Yankees. For some reason, the Yankees are interested in him, which makes no sense. Either sign Nimmo or you sign Judge. They're going to sign both. I don't see them doing that. The Cubs. Cubs seem to be kind of desperate to bring in a big player. The Dodgers, the Angels, Houston, and I've heard the Rays. The Rays are pretty hot on Brandon. Kodai Senga. I haven't heard much about him. I've heard the Padres, the Cubs, the Giants, the Rangers, Seattle, the Yankees, and I'll put the Mets just for the hell of it. I haven't heard anything much about the Mets. Wilson Contreras. The White Sox, the Twins, the Angels, the Cardinals. Keep an eye on the Cardinals. They might be aggressive about getting a catcher. The Red Sox, Tampa Bay, or Houston. He's going to be an interesting case, too, where he's going to land, because there are teams that need a catcher. The Cardinals in particular could use a catcher. Chris Bassett. The Mets, the Rangers, the Blue Jays, I can see him going there. The Cardinals, I can see him going there, too. Minnesota, the Phillies, I don't see him going to the Phillies. San Diego, and Boston. I don't know what the Boston Red Sox are doing, but I don't expect them to do much. Nothing of any major level. Kenley Jansen. Does anybody care where Kenley Jansen goes? As long as he's out of the National League. That's what I'd like to see. Get him the hell out of here. Get him out of the National League East and get him out of the National League. Mets never hit him. It's like enough is enough. Don't want him here. Jameson Taillon. Well, I've heard the Mets. He's got a pretty big market on him. The Mets seem to be pretty interested in him over the last couple of days. The Rangers, the Giants, and the Yankees. I don't think he'll go back to the Yankees. J.D. Martinez. I heard the Dodgers over the last couple of days. Pittsburgh, the Guardians, and Arizona. The Guardians can use some offense. The big reason why they didn't beat the Mariners because they didn't have enough offense on that team. That seemed to be a good guy for them to go get, or Mitch Haniger or something like that. Yoli Gurriel, where's he going to go? That'd be interesting to see where he goes because he doesn't really have a home now since Houston signed Jose Abreu. Hello, Hayden. Let's talk of Hayden. How you doing? Yoli Gurriel could go to the White Sox, the Giants, the Rangers, San Diego, and Tampa. Isn't he like a perfect place for San Francisco? If you know what I'm talking about, you'll understand. That seems to be the perfect place. Oofa. Justin Turner. I don't know where the hell he's going. I don't think he's coming to the Mets. I don't think the Mets are interested in him. Nathan Eovaldi. I've heard the Mets, a lot of teams on him, but he's got that qualifying offer. I don't know if we want to bring him in. You have to give up some draft picks. I don't know if I want to do that. Taijuan Walker. I've heard the Mets pretty much back on him over the last couple of days. The Rangers, the Mariners, the Boston Red Sox. I don't see Boston. Andrew Benintendi. The Yankees, the Tigers, the Rockies, Boston, the Mets. We've heard the Mets a little bit. And Houston I've heard today. I'll put Toronto down because obviously they're looking for left-handed hitting. And I'll put the Mariners in just for the hell of it because the Mariners seem to be always in on a play. And I'll put Baltimore there too. Because they're looking for a little help offensively. Noah Syndergaard. I've heard the Giants, the Rangers, which seems to be an obvious place because he's from Texas. The Phillies, staying with them. I don't see him staying there. Maybe going back to Toronto or Baltimore, which was who we met with this week. Now, Kyle Gibson signed with the Orioles yesterday. It'd be interesting to see if they're still interested in him there. Jeraxon Profar, Met Killer. Staying in San Diego or going back to the Rangers. He didn't have too many places. Josh Bell. Well, it seems like Houston's out on that. Texas, the Padres, the Giants, or Tampa Bay. Now, he's not a high WAR player, so he does not affect a lot of games. Maybe he goes to Cleveland. Who knows? And, of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. And like this video. And if you're watching a replay, leave comments in the comments section. Jose Quintana. Heard the Mets a little bit with him in the last day or so. The Cardinals going back there. The Dodgers or the Giants. I'll tell you the craziest contract that I saw was the Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin signed with the Rays for 3 years. $40 million. Outrageous. This guy's been a terrible pitcher. He's below 500. He's got an ERA 4.5. That's the Rays thinking that they're smarter than everybody in the room. That's a bad deal. And then they make it, it's the biggest contract. It's a bad contract. You can already tell it's a bad contract. And nobody says, it's a bad contract. No, it's a bad contract. Michael Conforto. Interesting to see where he goes. Since the shift is out, he might be more in play for a lot of teams. The Mets, the White Sox, the Yankees, the Mariners, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Houston Astros. Houston's been after him for a while. I'll put Toronto down too. Randy says, watch Eflin be great with the Rays. A lot of smoke and mirrors with the Rays, you know. I noticed Michael Walker did not pitch that great for them last year. So it doesn't always work with these guys. You know. It doesn't always work. You know. Let's see who's next. Christian Vasquez, catcher. All right, the Cardinals, that's a possibility. The White Sox, the Angels, the Twins. Maybe go back to the Red Sox. Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, San Diego. Keep an eye on Milwaukee. I don't know if they're doing a fire sale, but they kind of did like a mini fire sale, especially with players that are like free agents. They did trade Colton Wong, by the way. Picked up Jesse Winkler. Adam Ottavino. I got a feeling he'll be back with the Mets, I think. You know, Colorado's here, Boston's here, the Phillies are there, talking to him. Trey Mancini, be interesting to see where he goes. I've only seen one team attached to him, that's the Brewers. Brandon Drury, I don't know where he's going. I've heard Adam Frazier with the Cubs. Let's see. John Rossi says the Braves are close to a trade, and the A's are also close to a trade. Now we'll see. Let's see. Now, where's your information there, John? Andrew Haney. Mets should stay away from him. I would not sign him. I'd stay away from him. Gene Segura, I haven't heard any teams on him other than the Orioles. Mitch Haniger, I've heard Arizona, Boston, and Texas. And 3 players that are kind of been talked about a little bit. Brian Reynolds, James McCann, and Sean Murphy. Off as Mark Feinstein. Let's take a look. My phone's running slow here. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. I see that the Astros are trying to get Benintendi and Wilson Contreras. A very strange team. They won the World Series, and then they didn't bring back their general manager. Very strange. And the owner's so involved. Very, very involved. All right. I'm going to read these things from Mark Feinstein. It's pretty like an hour ago. The Athletics, this is from Mark Feinstein. The A's appear to be getting close to a trade of catcher Sean Murphy. Per source. The Braves consider the Farmers to acquire the former Gold Glove winner, though other teams remain in the mix. Update on Murphy. It still appears Oakland I'm tongue twisted right now. It still appears Oakland is close to a trade, but the Braves are not going to be the acquiring team. The Cardinals, the Rays, the Guardians, and the Red Sox are among the teams that have been connected to Murphy in recent weeks. Uh-oh. That's not going to go over well. Yomi T says, Aaron Judge went to a Warriors game and the 49ers game. Well, I would point out he's from San Francisco. Todd the Guy says, I don't know about Verlander. Remember, Smoltz was good at that age and went to the Cards and fell off the cliff. Plus, pitchers are always better in Houston. True. I don't know what they're doing there in Houston. Bang the can loudly. It's Jeff Bagwell. There's no funny money going on there with his numbers. Guy looked like the Michelin Man when he played. And now he looks like like somebody popped a balloon with Jeff Bagwell. I swear to God, he looked like the Michelin Man when he played. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into Judge going to the Warriors game and the 49ers game. The guy is from that part of the country. He's probably gone to those games before. But it's been made into a big deal because of his free agency. But we'll see. Boy, imagine if he went to the Giants. Oh, man, the Yankee fans would be flipping. I'll do a video on it. If he goes to the Giants, I will laugh my ass off. Yeah, that bad. He's saying, you look like you're sitting like on a commode, or a toilet, sitting over a toilet, and some potty potty that some potty potty that you didn't want to sit on, Yeah. So again, I'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll be on in the evening, maybe around 7 o'clock. We'll see. I won't be able to do any live streaming during the day because I'll be at work. Going back to work, I was kind of sick for the last couple of weeks, so still kind of verklempt. over the last couple of days, but getting over that. But be able to do some videos, hopefully during the day. Hopefully we'll have some movement. If there's a trade on any of these teams, I'll do a video later. If this Sean Murphy trade happens, I'll do a video on that. But we'll see what happens. Oh, let me tell you something. Hal Steinbrenner is not George. He's not his father. He's a little too laid back. I have felt this way for the last few months that I think the Yankees are probably going to that the Steinbrenner's going to sell the team. Because there were rumors that Amazon was very interested in the Yankees. And the Steinbrenners have a very close relationship with Amazon. Because they had broadcast a lot of games on their platform. And I could see the Steinbrenners selling the team to them. Now, during the summertime, right after that, I said that on a video, and sometime after that, the media kind of asked Hal, are you selling the team? He's like, no. So keep an eye on the Steinbrenners selling the team. Because I get the sense just from the family that Hart's not into it 100%. And if they get sold to a corporation like Amazon, don't expect the Yankees to be, like they always were, Randy asked me, my Yankee fan cousins really believe that Donaldson could be traded, him and a prospect attached. I said not really because of his contract. It wouldn't make sense for the other team. Thoughts? They'd have to eat some of that contract. I don't see them doing that. It seems like Cashman really likes Donaldson. I don't see Donaldson getting moved, to be honest with you. I'd be surprised if he got moved. To be honest with you. Yeah, we should find out in a few minutes who is going into the Hall of Fame, at least with the contemporary baseball era guys. The steroid guys aren't getting in. I don't see Bonds or Clemens getting in. Schilling should be in. He should have been in anyway. I don't know if he's getting in, but McGriff is definitely. He's going to get awfully close. Be interesting to see who gets in on this committee. From this committee. I don't know if Schilling's going to get in. I know the makeup of some of this committee. They might not let him in. He's got to get 12 votes. I don't know if he has 12 votes there. There might be a couple of holdouts that may not like his politics, and might be spiteful enough not to let him in. McGriff, I think, is a Hall of Famer. I don't think Mattingly is. I don't think Mattingly did it long enough. But the problem with Mattingly gets in, then Keith Hernandez should be in. The fact that Keith's not on this year's ballot is ridiculous. Outrageous that he's not on the ballot. Southern Cal Mets fan says Crime Dog and Dale Murphy get in. Well, here's the thing about Murphy. He has like 6 really, really great years. 2 MVPs. Had played in postseason with the Braves. I mean, from 81 to 87, he was like one of the best players in the National League. One of the best players in the National League. And the guy, I mean, you talk about a squeaky clean guy. Tremendous power. Tremendous defensive player. And he started out as a catcher. And I guess he had the yips. He couldn't throw the second base because he had the Mackey Sassa problem where he couldn't throw the second base. And that's why they moved him to center field, But that guy, I mean, he was a a slugger if there ever was one. But the years are not. It's just It's just not enough. But they were so great for the time that he played. I don't know if he has enough. That's the one thing about Murphy. He might not have enough. That's the problem with him. His years might not be enough. Let's take a look. Yes, please subscribe and like this video. All right. So his wins above replacement was 46.5, which is not bad, but it's not great either. Okay. 265 overall batting average. Now, I'll tell you, he hit 300 a couple of years. He had 385, which really his best offensive year was probably 83. All right. From 1980 through 1987, so it was a few more years. So we're talking about 8 years. So that's a little bit more than 6 years. We'll just go through his power numbers. 33.89. 13.50, 81's a strike year. 82, 36, 109, he was MVP. 83, 36, 121, MVP. 84, 36, 100. 85, 37, 111. 86, 29, 83, and 87, 44, and 105. Hit 300 two times those years. In 83 and 84, he led the league in slugging percentage. In 83, his OPS led the league at 933. In 84, he had 332 total bases, and that led the National League. So he led a lot of offensive categories in the National League. Led the National League in home runs twice, led the National League in RBIs twice. 5 times 100 runs batted in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 100 runs scored. So his numbers are very good. And he played a lot. He played a lot of games. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times led the league in games played. Played the most games, 162. 86, 160. 87, 159. Well, he played a lot of games. I know he had a streak there for the National League in terms of consecutive games. So he was a guy that really borderline guy, but he's awfully close though. I think he's probably going to get in. But then you have a guy like Albert Bell. Albert Bell had bigger numbers than this guy, and he's never going to get in, just because he's just a bad character. Albert Bell, his WAR is less than Murphy's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 years in a row of 100 RBIs. And the other year, 95. That won an MVP. Tough guy, boy. What a tough guy Albert Bell was. Rest in peace, or all this chat. What's that mean? So I can't mention that. Say it because you are 100% correct about Bell. That guy was one of the most dominant hitters in the 90s. And because he has such a lousy reputation with his teammates, with his opponents, with the media, with the fans, he's never going to get in. And I would mention this about what the hell? I just lost my train of thought. Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent has the same problem. Okay? You could not have found a more unlikable Met. And the years I've been a Met fan, well, you had a Met player that was so disliked with his teammates, with the media, with the fans. I was at Old Veteran Stadium. I was on a road trip with my family. This was a long time ago. This is when Jeff Kent was still with the Mets. He was going to get traded. A few weeks after that, Jeff Kent got traded. But I was in Philadelphia right before the 4th of July, and the Mets were playing the Phillies. And we were waiting outside the Met clubhouse, and players were coming in. Jeff Kent came in, and he could not have been ruder to the Met fans that were outside waiting for him. We're on the road. The team's on the road. He's on the road, and he was so rude. He was so rude to the fans that wanted his autograph. So Jeff Kent has that same problem. Didn't get along with his teammates. Didn't get along with the media. Didn't get along with the fans. It was really pretty much a miserable guy to handle and to deal with. And now you have Albert Bell in that same kind of box. And he's on his last year of eligibility, so I don't think he's getting in. Interesting to see who gets in. Billy Wagner's going to get close this year. Todd Helton's going to close. I don't think Todd Helton's a Hall of Famer, by the way. Who else? Trash Can 101 says, man, I really hated Buck because he checked Musgrove's ears for no reason. But I moved on, and I still respect the Mets. Oh, really? The guy looked like he was oiled up, ready to get a massage in his head. The guy's ears were so greasy looking. You have to be kidding me. Buck should not have waited as long as he should have. He should have been checking him before that. He should have. If they felt that he was doing something, they should have checked him in the second inning because they were looking at the baseball in that first inning. Buck was looking at that baseball, so they were watching him. They waited too long. The cat was already out of the bag. The cat was already out of the bag when he went out there. Buck should have checked it before the Mets fell behind. Once the Mets fell behind, he couldn't really say anything. Okay? And here's the thing about Buck. Buck is a guy who, when he was, I guess during the 2017 postseason, had noticed what the Astros were doing with the trash cans and all the cheating they were doing. And he was talking about it. Okay? So nothing gets past Buck. Okay? If Buck said this guy was cheating, you take that shit to the bank. Yeah, Machado completely over. I mean, Machado was actually he laughed about it because he knows Buck. And he probably knew that Buck was going to say something to him, Right. So he played for the guy for a few years. He knows. He probably laughed because he probably didn't think it was. He probably didn't probably thought he would say something before that. Randy says it's really stupid that players don't get in because of their attitude of the politics. Shouldn't it be if the player is good or not? I understand the player cheated or was a murderer, though. Well, the character is also part of getting in. It gives them the out with some of these players. Like Ted Williams was not a slam dunk, and mostly because he didn't get along with the media. He didn't take that shit. He didn't take that crap. Even Joe DiMaggio wasn't he didn't get I mean, some of these players, it wasn't really until Tom Seaver got in that the players really got the high percentage of the vote. Southern Cal Mets fan, that's a manager who would go at all costs to win. Buck did what he had to do because If Buck doesn't go out there, he would have gotten killed for that. So yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Buck hadn't done something about that, and it came out that he was doing something, people would have been asking Buck, how come he didn't check? Buck did the right thing. I had no problem. The problem is he should have checked in the first inning because they were looking at the baseball in the first inning, and they were showing it on TV that they were looking at it. So that should have been when that's when they should have decided. I'm going to take a bit of a break. I'll be back in 2 minutes, and we'll wait to see who gets in the Hall of Fame. Be right back. All right, so I'm back. We'll find out in a couple minutes who's going to get in the Hall of Fame. Let's just sort of wait in a couple minutes to see who they announce and stuff, and then we'll call it a night. Again, like I said, I'll be back in tomorrow in a live stream tomorrow night. Probably around 7 o'clock. We'll see how I feel. Like I've been saying, I haven't been feeling well, so but gonna get through it. Got no choice. But we'll be back in tomorrow night, and I'll be back in on Tuesday. Tuesday they're gonna have the draft lottery. That's something new in Major League Baseball. They're gonna have the draft lottery, so teams can't necessarily tank like they've been tanking. So the first, I guess they'll have a lottery for the first 10 picks for the draft next year. That's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing that. I would mention this. I have another channel called The Football Hut, and I've been watching a lot of football. I watched football today, like I said earlier in the live stream, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of that going into next season because I really starting to relearn the teams and learn some new players. So if you follow me on there, that's why there hasn't been more content on there because I'm trying to learn about the players and stuff. Trash Can 101 says the Pirates are going to be good in 2 years. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. The Pirates have talent, but they're just not ready yet. I mean, there's certain teams have talent and just not quite ready yet. And I don't know if that manager's the right manager for them. Was it Sheldon, his name? I think he's the right guy for that team. They were doing some very strange things against the Mets, but we'll keep an eye on the Pirates. I obviously, this thing with Brian Reynolds, we'll see if he gets moved. I don't think he's getting moved, but that's interesting to talk about. And I've done a video discussing some SNY trade that they talked about on their network, which I thought was kind of fun to talk about. But we'll see. But it seems like Sean Murphy's going to get traded. We'll see where he goes. It seemed a little while ago that the Braves are kind of interested, but I don't think that's going to happen. Keep an eye on him with the Cardinals. But I think the Cardinals are going to make some very interesting moves this winter meetings. I think that would be a player to keep an eye on. I expect them to, improve their catching. Now with the Mets, I expect the Mets to do some stuff with their pitching. They need a top starter. It's either going to be Verlander or Rodon. My preference is Rodon because he's left-handed and he's younger. And they need some stability in terms of sort of the length of a contract. And I don't want another 40-year-old, another 38, 39, 40-year-old pitcher in the rotation, even though Verlander is a historically great pitcher. So,
And everybody thinks it stays hot. It ain't hot right now on here. What's the play? It feels like Studio 3 when you go for a pizza. It's not that.
and obviously, Jacob DeGrom is now with the Rangers, which is okay, here we go. Contemporary baseball era ballot. Albert Bell, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens.
This committee into Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame. Josh Rowan will join us in a moment. Where do you stand on this? Who do you think should get in? Honestly, you look at
And last year, obviously, they voted for Gil Hodges last year.
the easiest one on the group. Without controversy, one way or another. Did he play long enough? Yeah, all that stuff. It's Fred McGriff. Yeah, I agree. He has longevity.
Yeah, I mean, Rodon is a guy you want to bring in. I think that the fact that he's left-handed too helps. And there's a possibility that Scherzer might not be here next year. So you need somebody at the top of this rotation that's going to be here for a few years. You can't have all these empty spaces here, all these empty seats every year. You can't be building your starting rotation every season. Because next year, Carrasco's going to be gone. So you already know going into next season or after next season that you're going to lose somebody. And Scherzer will probably be a free agent again. They're showing Mattingly right now. I'm going to say this again. Mattingly's WAR is comparable to guys like Orlando Cepeda and Tony Perez. Okay? And he was the best player in the game when he played. But Heath, his wins above replacement was higher, and he was a better player for a longer period of time. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. And he had more of a positive effect on his team and in winning.
But if you're a great human being and your candidacy is on the line, can't that push
Peter says they'll probably try to sign Ohtani if that's how you spell his name. Yes, that's how you spell his name. You got it right. Ohtani. Oh, boy. No, you can't give DeGrom 5 years. Not with his injury history.
The longevity of Dale, and he went from a catcher to a center fielder. It's an amazing story. But he was
DeGrom he's not worth 5 years. I'm sorry. As great as he is, his injury history is just too much.
Schilling's on that board, right? He's got it. And you talk about postseason dominance. You talk about his numbers.
Yeah, that's really. You could probably let Scherzer walk if Ohtani's a free agent and you sign Ohtani. And then you got a completely different kind of rotation.
There's a chance that could be the case. We're moments away from finding out. I do want to actually show you the members on this committee. Some huge names.
Let's go through these members. I'm going to show the members of this committee that's going to vote in these old-timers. All right, Greg Max, Jack Morris, Sandberg, Lee Smith, Frank Thomas, Alan Trammell. The executives, Beeston, Epstein, Hall, know who he is, Artie Moreno, Kim Nang, Dave St. Peter, Ken Williams. The writers, Susan Slusser, Lavelle Neal, and Steve Hurt will say, these guys got to get 12 of these people. All right, we'll find out now. Find out now who's in.
You never know. Is that an automatic? It's elected. But how difficult was that to put someone in that spot as the 16th member of this committee? Trying to try and
make sure everybody can be here. But we're always, I mean, the world always has a backup plan. So, you know, we have to make sure that when we got the call, Skipper couldn't make it. Of course, it's sad, but went to a number of people, and thankfully Derek, my old colleague.
No, Frank Thomas is a Hall of Famer. What if the Mets get Murphy? They're not going to get Murphy. They're not looking for a catcher.
So let me ask you, the committee, how do you guys select who gets picked? Like you saw Chipper Jones, Greg Maddux.
Now, please like this video and subscribe. This is great to watch me on camera or watching TV. But after we find out who's someone in the live stream, so enough of this chit chat. Just tell us who's going in the Hall of Fame. And then in January, we'll find out who gets in, who the current guys are getting in. Be interesting to see how many votes Carlos Beltran gets. I don't know if he's going to be first-time ballot guy.
If I could tell you what happened in the room, I would, but I am not in a position to do that.
Other than to get the Hall of Famers are very persuasive. I got to imagine Hall of Fame players are. And it is sad news just 2 days ago that Cooperstown lost one of its own, the great Taylor Perry.
Yeah, I mean, tremendous pitcher, tremendous person. And
Yeah, I think of Frank Thomas. I think of that crazy commercial that he does with Doug Flutie. About their manhood, having problems. Now they've hit over 50.
Amazing career, amazing person, all the lives he touched, and truly one of the greatest pitchers that ever lived.
It's treated me great. You know, I was fortunate to be around him in 82, 83. I was in minor leagues and then the big leagues. He was in Seattle. And he just
Well, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. I want to get to 2,700 subscribers within the next day or so. We're going to find out shortly who's going into the Hall of Fame as part of this committee. All right, here we go.
On behalf of Hall of Fame Chairman Gene Forbes Clark and our board of directors, the Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee is convened today. It's time to reveal the results of today's election. Today marks the first of two announcements to determine who's going to comprise the class of 2023. As the Baseball Writers Association of America will be casting ballots throughout the month of December.
There we go.
So that process will be right here on the MLB Network on January 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And as you noted just a little bit ago, the Contemporary Baseball Era Voting Committee was comprised of historians and longtime writers, Steve Hurt, Lavelle Neal, and Susan Saucer, respected baseball executives Paul Beeston, Theo Epstein, Derek Hall, Artie Moreno.
I have no idea who Derek Hall is. Who's Derek Hall?
And Ken Williams, and Hall of Famers Greg Maddux, Jack Morris, Brian Sandberg, Luke Smith, Frank Thomas, and Alan Trammell. The 16-member committee spent this morning reviewing the distinguished group of 8 players whose career achievements were most significant after 1980. The 8 candidates, as you know, who comprised the ballot included Albert Bell, Barry Bonds,
Big
Roger
names.
Clemens, Don Mattingly, Fred McGriff, Dale Murphy, Rafael Palmeiro, and Kurt Schilling. And now it is my honor to reveal if any candidates will be celebrated in Cooperstown next July 23rd, when the Hall of Fame induction ceremony will be seen right here on MLB Network and taking place in Cooperstown. The Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee has elected one new member to the Hall of Fame. And the newest member of the Hall of Fame class of 2023, elected unanimously with 16 votes, played 19 seasons with the Blue Jays, Padres,
Fred McGriff.
Braves, Cubs,
Fred McGriffson.
Dodgers, and his hometown Tampa Bay Devil Rays, becoming the first player to hit 30 home runs for 5 different teams. A 5-time All-Star and 3-time Silver Slugger.
Dale Murphy didn't get in. Look at that.
Finished his career with 493 home runs.
But Fred McGriff got in. So none of the steroid guys got in. Wow.
Nicknamed the Crime Dog, he drove in 100 or more runs in 8 different seasons and finished in the top 10 in his league's most valuable player award voting 6 different times. He batted .303 in 50 playoff games over 5 years.
Fred McGriff's in the Hall of Fame.
Capturing 2 National League championships and the 1995 World Series championship with the Atlanta Braves. Fred McGriff, welcome to Cooperstown.
All right, dog. He finally had his moment. This is great news.
All right, Fred McGriff's in the Hall of Fame. Bonds didn't get in. Schilling didn't get in. I'm not surprised Schilling didn't get in. Not to say that there were like some political problems there, but I saw some of the names on that list. some of them weren't going to put him in. So he's not in. He's going to have to wait now a couple of years. But McGriff is in. I have no issue with Fred McGriff. Interesting to see what team he goes with because he's with a lot of teams. I would think probably the Braves, I would think. He's in the Hall of Fame now. Schilling didn't get in. Bonds didn't get in. Clemens didn't get in. Albert Bell didn't get in again. And that's it. So, congratulations to the Crime Dog. And I want to thank you all for coming by. We'll be back again tomorrow on a live stream, God willing. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.